One of the hardest parts about feeling seen by other people is most likely the fact that you have to first see yourself, and you have to appreciate yourself, and you have to admit what actually matters to you. And until you do that, it's probably going to be really hard for anybody else to actually see you and for you to feel like they understand you at a very deep level.
I've never coached anyone who doesn't want to be valued by others, but in order to be valued, you first have to be seen and understood. And what I've found, myself included, is that requires vulnerability. It requires you to be honest and open about your strengths and your weaknesses. It requires you to open up and connect and share your actual experiences. Share your actual fears, share your goals, share your core values. Now, you have to be careful with that, because if you overshare, that's a problem. But you can't be mad that people don't value you and understand you or see you while you simultaneously are hiding who you really are. So it takes courage, and I empathize with that, because social courage, I think, is like the hardest thing in the entire world.
Vulnerability is a requirement for sure. Next Level Nation! Welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 2008, how to help people see you more accurately. You and I were talking behind the scenes, and we were talking about, I don't remember where it came from, but we were talking about feeling seen. And I said, I think we should do an episode on this, because I don't know if this was really my experience, but you can probably speak to this better than I. One of the hardest parts is showing people how to see you. So I think we all wish that people could imagine how we're feeling. So it's like, oh, I really wish Alan would see me in this moment. But if I haven't sat down with Alan and I haven't said, hey man, sometimes when you say this, it kind of, I don't know, it feels like you're whatever. You're not respecting me, or it feels like you're babying me, or whatever it is, you're never going to know how I feel seen. And I think that's one of the hardest things is we can wait for somebody to do it forever, but how do they know? They don't know how we're feeling, and nobody's really going to be able to read your mind, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what kind of weird shit you think about on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thesis.
You and I were talking offline earlier, and I was talking about a person I've coached in the past who has a therapist. And this is a mutual friend and all that. And essentially, they felt very unseen at one point. I'll keep it all anonymous always. But I was talking to Kev about how everyone is different in their core values, goals. We talked about that in the last episode, but also their core wound, their deepest fear. So this person that I'm referring to provide context, they love their career. There's certain people who are more career-oriented than others. Fair?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This person is very career-oriented. Very, very, very. And that I am too. So I appreciate it. I see her. I see you in that. I see you, and I feel seen by you in that. People always say things like, well, there's more to life than work. And it's like, yeah, but that's not what I need to hear. But that's what the other person thinks you need to hear, because they think I work too much.
Well, because that's what they think they would need to hear.
Exactly. And that is the base problem of why relationships struggle. This is the base problem. Everyone is struggling with humility, courage, or vulnerability. Then we feel unseen. Then we get frustrated, which then causes problems. But the reason we're feeling unseen is because we don't understand how different the other person actually is, but how could we if we're not vulnerable and honest about it? So, for example, if Kev were to say, Alan, come on, there's more to life than work, I'd be like, brother, you know that I want to do more, not less, right? Like my issue, you're trying to solve a problem. You're presupposing you know me, you're presupposing you know my problem, and you're presupposing you know a solution, which again, I have done in the past as well with people who don't like work. Okay, so the really important piece here, and to bring it back to this original story, this person who is a type A achiever who loves work, her career means the world to her, her therapist said, well, you know there's more to life than work, right? And she came to me with that and said, yeah, I don't know if it's the right fit. I don't feel like she understands me. I don't feel like she gets me. I said, no, she just isn't the same type as you. For her, she doesn't live to work. She works to live. This person lives to work. And most people would put me in that category as well, right? Some people work to live, and other people live to work. The live to workers are the achiever type A types, who usually have high self-belief and they love their career and they probably have some sort of a calling, and they design their world around their career a lot more than other people. And then people who work to live, they design their world around family and quality time and that kind of thing. And we're all both, but we have a different syntax, right? So I work first, live second. Kevin lives first, works second. Not lately.
I try.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think that all of us, and Kevin and I'm very grateful for this, because I don't think I would have understood a lot of this if it wasn't for me working with you. Because in the past, people would, you think too much, you work too much, too much. You ever just relax? It's like, you think too little. You work too little. All of us are just projecting.
Yeah. Right?
From my perspective, the person who is telling me I think too much, they think not enough, in my opinion. People tell me you shouldn't work so much. I'm thinking you should work more. Seriously. Right? But that's all based on our own uniqueness. But we're all kind of hiding our uniqueness because what makes us unique takes away belonging. And I think human beings at their base, and I give this to Emilia, not me, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there is one thing that I do believe, she believes, Maslow didn't touch on enough, which is belonging. I think that human beings crave belonging at the deepest level. And I think that that's why we're a tribal species. And that's why we identify. I'm an achiever. Well, I'm not. Okay, well, I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. But I'm this religion. I'm that. It's all tribal. And I'm not getting into any of that. But what I will say is that it takes humility to say, okay, and this has been hard for me too, because all the people who were trying to tell me I'm too much, I think too much, I work too much, I was trying to tell them, well, you're not going to be successful if you don't work more or think more. Like, aren't you worried about your future? Aren't you concerned? But that was me taking everything from my own lens. So everyone's looking from their own lens, and everyone's afraid to not belong. And so we hide the parts of us that are different so that we can coexist and get along. But that's actually the problem, because then we all feel unseen. It's this whole thing.
I feel like we try to give people the prescription that we think we would need for that problem. Because what else would you do? How else would you do it? You don't know.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I didn't understand. I could not possibly fathom somebody who would rather work than anything else. I didn't understand it.
Well, this is the best part about this podcast, in my opinion. Talk to me about your perspective on that now. Because I couldn't possibly fathom not wanting to focus on my career.
Well, but I think fulfillment is a really big piece of it that doesn't get talked about enough, because it fulfills you you would be fulfilled if you didn't do it. That, I don't know if... I
would be unfulfilled if I didn't do it.
You would be unfulfilled if you didn't. Didn't I say you wouldn't be fulfilled?
I'm not sure.
I think I said a double negative, so in fairness, that's not proper English.
I'm not sure.
It's all good. I can imagine that there probably, unfortunately, are some people that will never fully be understood by all the people they want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that's probably, unfortunately, going to be the case. Because if what fulfills you is seemingly the opposite of what fulfills me, that's when you get, like, your life must be pretty boring. Like, don't you ever do anything? You, like, guys go on vacations, or you have a successful business, you guys work a lot, you must go on vacation, or no, okay. You go out to dinner, you like order food, oh, okay. Your life sounds boring compared to the life that I aspire to. So now it makes sense because you're fulfilled. And I know you're fulfilled, but I'm also fulfilled. And I wasn't fulfilled before, so I couldn't imagine how you could possibly be fulfilled by doing that.
100%. And this is one of the things, too, of I had who was it? There was someone recently several months ago, there was someone who said, I just feel bad for you. Like, you don't have a lot of friends. And I remember thinking to myself, don't feel bad for me. My life's better than yours. And I'm not trying to be unkind. Let me really unpack this for a second. I want this person to flourish. I am a huge fan of this person. But I remember thinking, don't feel bad for me. This is what I want.
But even
this
that,
is the life that I want. This is all by design.
Is your life, when you say, and I know you don't mean
I am more fulfilled than her, yes, for sure. For sure.
Do you think that person
But I don't
has
think
more...
she'd be fulfilled with my life. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But again, that I'm glad you unpacked that, because I need to make sure I bring the below the iceberg, because I feel like out of context things can be taken really poorly, and I don't want that to happen. So this person I coached for 5 months, 6 months, something like that, and we decided to part ways because my coaching is extremely goal oriented, and she wanted to go a different road. Totally fine. I actually think that that's a good idea. I think that was kind of my idea too, and she agrees. And she might be listening, by the way, if you're out there. But I remember thinking to myself, and I said this to her, I said, don't feel bad. I don't want to do anything else. Like, don't feel bad for me. I'm healthy, happy, productive, wealthy. I'm like fulfilled. Don't feel bad, please. And I remember there's a time in the past too. But again, from her lens, if she didn't have any friends like me, she'd be very upset by that. That's like by design. Yeah. I remember I had more friends than I could count in the past. That was very unfulfilling for me. It was too much. It was obnoxious, quite frankly. It was alarmingly bad for me. So this is kind of my point. Everyone is looking from their own lens. In CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, they talk about how everyone has a paradigm and everyone has a core belief. And the core belief is what creates core values and goals, basically. Fears and desire. So if Kevin's deepest fear, it was growing up, he didn't have money. Okay, his desire is to be wealthy. Okay, so our desires are in the opposite direction of our fears. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the past, my fear was being alone and being abandoned. So therefore, I'm going to have as many friends as possible. And then you overswing that and you go, oh my God, this is not sustainable. This is terrible. I feel like I've lost myself. Then your fear becomes having too many friends and not reaching your potential and being at everyone's, barbecue and not having your own self. Losing yourself becomes my fear. So after my car accident, losing myself became my fear. Okay, well then what's my goal? Always stay true to me. So to bring this back full circle here, this person, I remember I felt very unseen. It was like, why would you feel bad for me? I'm extremely fulfilled. And there was someone in my past, way early on, I'll say my mom. I remember her saying, I was the most happy, healthy, and productive I had ever been. Ever in my entire life. And she said, wow, I really hope you don't get hit by a bus. And I remember I shared this story not long ago. And I remember thinking, Mom, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I don't want to do anything else. She's like, well, I would just hate for you to put on all this work and not have it work out. And I remember thinking, for me, I would have wanted you to be unhappy if I got hit by a bus before because I hadn't lived yet.
Yeah.
Right? But again, this is really important for myself, Kevin, and everyone. And this is, I think, what real maturity is. And trust me, I screwed this up for such a long time. I feel like I didn't have this figured out at all until my 30s.
Well, how does somebody, let's do a couple answers on this. How does somebody effectively communicate how they would like to be seen? We're just real quick behind the scenes. We're trying, again, Alan and I are always having mini and or moderate sized midlife crises fairly often, like probably too often, more often than recommended, I would say. But we want to get back to tangible takeaways. So every episode, the goal is what is the thing that maybe you're going through, or Alan's going through, or I'm going through, or a client's going through, or one of our friends is going through, that we can pick as a topic and then add value to, and you can leave with tactical answers. That's our goal. So I'm trying to keep us to that, and if I feel like if I say it publicly, I'm more likely to stick to it.
Yeah, agreed. I love that we do that. I love that we bring people in behind the scenes. I've always liked that.
So yeah, what is the easiest way to express how you want to be seen?
Well, number one is identify where you feel unseen.
Of course.
And number two is have the courage to share that with the other person. And if it's someone who is humble and a good person, they will be, oh, I had no idea.
Give me the how. How do you share it? Give
Fucking
me that.
bite the bullet. No, I always have, Emilia says, oh, here we go, get out the list. She's playful with it because I have so many areas where it's like, okay, I'll give you one example and then I'll give you a how. The how is just bite the bullet, in my opinion. I was being spot yesterday by Emilia. I did 185 for 6, and she'll grab the bar too fucking quick.
Oh,
can't do
tough
that.
One.
Now, again, she's newer to bodybuilding, and I love her to death. I get it. I completely get it. We use sign language. I haven't taught her this. Okay, so this is unfair to her, and I know that. And I'm not mistreating Emilia on any level. She would be the first one to tell you that. Now, that said, inside, when I'm pushing 185 for 6, which for me, despite Kevin's face right now, is actually a good PR for me.
Zero judgment.
PR in my 30s. I'm doing decade PRs now. It's a PR for me lately, which is good. I have a frustration with that where I feel unseen because I've asked her to not touch the bar, but she is very scared of the bar falling on me. Sweetheart, we're good. I could probably get 3 freaking more, honestly, if I really had to, okay? I'd probably tear my shit, but you get it.
You'd survive.
Okay. Yeah, I'd survive. Now, don't save me. I got this. I can do it, right? Don't touch the bar. So anyways, how do you do it? I would identify, okay, I feel a little unseen. She thinks I'm too weak to put this up. She's kind of babying me a little bit, which please don't in the gym. Okay, I got this. And I've told her in the past how to spot me, and she's not doing a very good job, in my opinion. And again, she still is, all things considered, but boom, 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 boom. And then my deepest fear underneath that, fear, is she's going to hold back my progress. And Emilia and I have a very unique relationship where we promise each other we will never hold each other back. So where she feels unseen with the pets or with this, or she has to take care of this, and she can't work late, but I can, all this stuff. She feels like I'm holding her back. I feel like she's holding me back. Boom, boom, boom. We share it vulnerably, which that's why I say bite the bullet. I'm never going to want to bring that up. There's never going to be a good time where I'm like, hey, by the way, the other night, love, I didn't really like how you spotted me. I have to share it on the car ride home. And that's courage and vulnerability. Now, I'm not going to come at her and say, hey, I really, like, entitled. I told you 6 times to spot me. Like, that's toxic and stupid. For any men out there, by the way, don't do that. It's dumb. But you can say, sweetheart, I just feel a little bit unseen because I've asked you in the past not to grab the bar, and I feel like that happened again tonight. Just a little data point for you in the future.
Let it kill me moving forward.
Yeah, moving. Good.
Question. We're going to go deep. Okay, this just came to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, Emilia is super strong, so this might not be the case. Is there any part of it that could be she grabs the bar early because she's afraid if she doesn't grab it early, she's not going to be able to help you?
Yes, that is the fear, which I respect and understand. So she probably feels unseen in that, which is why these conversations are so powerful,
100%.
assuming you are respectful and kind in them. Frustrations are important to share when they're small because they build up, and then that's when big fights happen. And now I'm talking from the conscious couples lens. I've been coaching couples for 4 years, and you really can ruin relationships very quickly if you're not careful. But real quick, I tried to explain this to her, and this is why you have to bring these things up, because otherwise you'll never get to the root cause like you just did. She said that. She said, well, I'm afraid I won't be able to lift it. And I said, sweetheart, what you don't understand is the math. I may not be able to do 185 for that last rep, but when you lift 20 pounds off it, it's going to be easy, right? But that's a bodybuilding thing. No one teaches that.
Well, and I think it's an experience thing too. Yeah.
Well, even if you did pinkies, I'm going to put it up no problem.
Yeah. But I've spotted a lot of people, right? I'm sure the first time I've spotted some people that were very strong, and it's like, you're going to be able to get this, right? Like you know what I mean? You're not going to need me for this.
If you don't, I can't.
Yeah, you're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the one. I'm 5'4". Like I don't have the leverage. The way my muscles, the way my height is set up, I'm not going to do this. I've noticed that both Taryn and I tend to respond really well to just like direct just, hey, when you did that, I felt a certain way. Can we talk about it? Like, that's usually how it goes. I'm not nearly as transparent when it comes to Taryn and I's conversations, just because Taryn's not as public as Alan and Amelia, so I always want to respect her privacy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that, and it's usually like in the moment of, hey, when this happened, I felt this way, and that kind of hurt. And that always de-escalates it, because it's like, oh my goodness, you feel a certain way based on something that I said or did. Okay, let's explore what that means.
Well,
but
go ahead.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah, I will. I'm gonna. I do think the unfortunate truth is there are some people that will never fully see you. I don't know if they can. I've had so many conversations with people when, like, even my mom, I love my mom, been very supportive of this mission, very supportive. I'll go down and I'll see my mom and my grandmother, and she'll be like, how's business? It's like, I can't even keep up. I'm so overwhelmed. She's like, we got to slow down. Like, there's more to life than work. It's like, I understand, but I'm not saying it because I'm looking for a strategy. I'm not even saying it because I'm looking for support. I'm just saying it because you asked. If you didn't ask, I wouldn't have said anything. That's just kind of how it is. I don't know. I don't know.
What would I say? Right? That's one thing. There's a client I'm thinking of right now. You know who you are if you're out there watching. She runs a business. Her partner does not. He seems like the man. Huge fan. Seems like a great partner. It seems like it's going to be her forever partner, which I'm excited for. I've been coaching this person for years. And he said something along the lines of, well, you're struggling with that. Like, do you want to do some like budgeting? And she was like, dude, I've been running a fucking company for the last decade. Like, I know how to budget. You know what I mean? But how could he know? And I said to her, I said, well, what does he think you do? And she's like, well, I don't really tell him the ins and outs of the inventory and all that stuff. I'm like, well, he has no clue, right? Professional fighters understand what it takes to be a professional fighter. Business owners understand what it takes to be a business owner. If Kevin came to me and he said, I'm really just a little overwhelmed, man, I'm not going to say, hey, work less. The dumbest idea ever.
Yeah, that's not the way, unfortunately, for me.
Well, the truth is that's not what you need to hear. Right? But how I have to understand Kevin. I have to understand Kevin's context and his circumstance and his goals in order to actually advise him in a way that is sound. And I was guilty of this all the time in the past. People would say, well, I want to do this. And I'd say, okay, well, this is how you do it. And they'd say, well, I don't want to do that. And I'd be like, oh, so you just want goals?
Next Level Nation, we are very, very excited to announce that we are doing our first purely virtual Next Level Live on April 5th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alan and myself will be live streaming from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Next Level Live 2025. Be there. It's only $47 for a full day of personal development, self-improvement, holistic health, wealth, life, and love.
We have a global audience. Obviously, if you live somewhere else in the world, it's hard to come across the country or across the world for a one-day event, so we wanted to make sure it was accessible to everyone.
You're not going to get to the next level of your life by default. You're going to get there by design. Join us. Design that next level.
Well, we've had that discussion many times. Yes, I think most people, if you don't know what it's going to take to get the goal, you set the goal, and then somebody provides you with, let's say it's an accurate roadmap, and then you look and you say, that's a lot more miles than I expected to travel. I think I'll go to a different place. So yeah, no, I feel you. I do. I feel you. I think the hard part about this is, okay, you have the awareness. All right, this is how I feel seen. These are the things I value. These are my core beliefs, my core values. Okay, awesome, cool. Awareness, got it. Then there's the communication. But I don't know. I feel like this is always hard because there's a piece of me that has empathy for a lack of understanding, because at the end of the day, a person can only add value to the level they understand the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my mom says, well, you got to take care of yourself. Yeah, I understand. That's the layer of productivity
for sure.
and business understanding, and you're doing your best to add value.
And there's some truth to it. You got to take
Yeah.
care of the asset. There's some
Well,
truth
for sure.
to it. However,
For sure.
you feel unseen because...
But I don't really.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that's because you filter it through her lack of understanding what
That's
your
what
life
I-
is actually like.
I think that's kind of what
Yeah.
empathy to me means in this situation is I'm not saying you don't or you do get frustrated with people. I think I have a pretty positive relationship because I haven't felt unseen for most of my life. Where somebody like you or somebody out there who's a super high achiever, who's had really big goals their whole life, you've probably felt, if you're type A, maybe you felt unseen for a lot longer than I have.
Mm-hmm.
Full disclosure, I can only imagine what it's like.
And we make it worse by not being honest about
Right.
what we actually want. Like, I had a mom who's a type A super achiever, multimillionaire who I coached. And she said, I can't tell these other moms that I care about my career as much as I do my kids. They'll ostracize me from the group. And I remember thinking, I wish I had a mom who cared about her career more, because I would have needed someone to lead by example. I think that's the coolest thing ever. And by the way, this person's a better mom than half the moms I know.
But even that is you through your lens.
That's a great point.
That's
But
that's
she
what's
is.
so
She
hard.
actually is, though. Even through
No,
other
no.
people's lenses, I think.
No, I
But,
mean
yeah.
I wish I had.
I know.
Even that is
That's
like
fair. Yeah.
that's why it gets so wonky. I
This
think
is the
it's
base of why humans hurt each other, right here.
yeah. It's a lack of understanding, and I don't. It's not always intentional. I think most often, Taryn's mom will come over and it's like, it's Saturday. She's like, you're working. It's like, yeah, you know it. She's like, oh man. And I know what she's thinking. Like, I understand. Every time I
Yeah.
come here, every time you come here, I'm working, no matter when it is. I'm not avoiding you, I promise. I am working. Like, I'm in the office. Taryn's...
In the
my
office playing Angry Birds.
Yeah, that's like,
You know.
get another game in. Pops stayed last week. He stayed with us for a week. And it
Who's
was
Pops, for the new listeners.
like my father-in-law, Pops.
Nice.
It was the busiest week we've had. I mean, we worked till 9 o'clock, like 3 nights in a row.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And I was like, Pops, I'm sorry. I swear I'm not avoiding you. But he's completely understanding.
Yeah.
That no, you need to work less. It's just he doesn't really care, which I love. But again, I think one is you have to figure out what is your relationship with feeling unseen. I don't have that bad of a relationship with it, so it doesn't really bother me that much. I'm not worried about dimming and pretending to be somebody I'm not. Sometimes it's easier for me just to say, yeah, I'll be able to take more of a break after things slow down a bit. Because that's somewhat true. I'm not going to be working until 9 o'clock every night. But you have to pick and choose your battles. Some people, it's not worth it. It depends. It depends on who it is. I don't, like, okay, you're at the grocery store and you go to pick something up and it's mislabeled. Like, are you going to go tell somebody? Maybe not. If you're going to buy the thing you are, though, you're not going to pay $27 for a thing that's supposed to cost $2.70. That's when it's worth it. There's more necessity. I don't know. This is a really hard thing because I think the unfortunate truth is some people just aren't going to be able to see you fully. But I think it's the people that are willing to try that know maybe they don't know how yet.
That's what it is. Humility.
That's a really good part, I think. And that's a really good place to live. If you have that person, that's the one that's worth trying to work through it with for sure.
It requires humility to admit that you don't know. Like, I every now and then there'll be these moments with people where it's like, wait a minute, are you like coaching me on something that I'm leagues ahead of you in right now? But they don't know that. And that happens in my head. I say that in my head.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, no, I'm struggling in that, but I'm ahead of you. But they couldn't know that because they think I'm struggling. Because I said I'm struggling. And that's why this is where it's like, you have to pick and choose vulnerability.
Yep.
See, if I'm vulnerable with Emilia, she knows that just because I'm struggling, so for example, I'm struggling to do mobility. that doesn't mean I couldn't do it tomorrow forever if I decided. That sounds arrogant, but someone who actually thinks I'm struggling with consistency, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm very consistent on the things I choose to be, but I don't want to pretend to be on some high horse of I'm consistent at everything I want. So this is one of the reasons why vulnerability is so hard, because the moment you're vulnerable, now some people take that the wrong way and they think they can come and help you with that thing but if you're not vulnerable, you'll never be seen.
Yeah.
So
being human is hard. I imagine if I was like a rock, things would be pretty easy. People would throw me around, skip me across the pond a few times. Like life would be, not bad, not terrible. All things considered.
It'd be terrible.
All things considered.
If you want to be seen, understood, and valued, you can only be seen, understood, and valued to the extent that the other person understands you and has experienced what you've experienced. And that is predicated on your level of courage and vulnerability to actually share that. Kevin said to me many times, he's like, I would have never known you were struggling at all. Like you seem, it humanizes you.
I assume you're fine all the time.
Well, I don't know. You make it look easy, but it doesn't mean it is.
But if you never tell me it's not, then it will be the way it looks, right? Oh, it's always going to be how I see it versus how you feel it, unless you tell me how you feel it, and then maybe I see it differently.
There was one time where Kev, hey, have you considered the syntax of your habits?
That's the problem. Your habits are off. I can help you. Let me get in there. Let me get under the hood. Let me move some stuff around.
I said, Kev, with all due respect, man, I was the one, 7 years ago now, who said, hey, do you want to track 5 habits? He's like, fuck that.
Very quickly, I was like, no. Fair play,
right.
Man. Fair. I think that I am a natural solver. Even today, even when you were talking about the mobility thing, in my head, it was like,
yeah.
Is there anything I could say that would...
Yeah. But again, I have to be honest.
I know.
And this is the other thing, too. You want to know why no one thinks I struggle? Because I could easily just say, well, I could do mobility if I wanted. But that's not relatable. How the hell am I supposed to... So, again, it's
you're in
just
a different bucket for sure. Right? It's different.
One thing that I definitely struggle with is understanding what it's like to not believe in yourself, to not really want to orient your life around work. And so the more unique you are, the harder it's going to be to empathize and understand other people. So you're going to have extra humility to just say, you know what? I know that I don't know. And I think that that's a good place to start. It's just, I know I don't know what it's like to struggle with that. And I think that sometimes helps people feel seen. Because anxiety, for example, it's like, I remember Emilia saying one time, she said, well, I struggled with anxiety. I said, sweetheart, I know you, been with you for 5 years. No, you don't. Not to the extent that they mean it. But that takes time. And that's why when we're young, we all hurt each other. Dude, kids are so mean to each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal to watch because they're so unaware of the different core wounds. They're so unaware. I was doing a marathon around a track with these young girls. I was doing a marathon and they were playing soccer. They hit me with the ball, by the way, and I was struggle bus. I could not even handle it. It was a terrible marathon. First half marathon was easy. Last half was horrible. Doesn't matter. The point is they were so mean to each other. I was just listening because I had nothing else to do. My AirPods died. My music was gone. All this stuff. They were so fucking mean to each other. It was like they were ripping each other a new one. Like, oh, and it was like, whoa. No wonder why we all get so wounded in high school. You guys are so fucking mean to each other.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, kick it in the net next time. You suck. It's like, oh, shit.
Well, all things considered, that's not that bad.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was worse than that.
I was going to say, I'm sure that was the
I'm
the
really
PG
dimming
version.
it down here a little bit.
Yeah,
That's the PG version. It was pretty bad. It's like, they were saying some names I can't say on here. One begins with a C word they were saying all the time. It's like, oh my God, I haven't been in high school in a while. This is fucking brutal. But anyways, in high school, I think we all get really deeply wounded. That's my takeaway.
Okay. Strong word. Mine would be, I think the most valuable one I could say is figure out what does it mean for you when you don't feel seen and how does it show up? Because I think it's different for everybody. It doesn't really bother me that much because I don't have a very long history of it. It's not a real deep wound for me. How are we doing on battery life over there?
15%. We're good.
15%.
You don't feel like you don't feel unseen often?
If I do, it usually is pretty quick for me to say, like, of course that person doesn't understand. If you don't know what a podcast is, you couldn't possibly understand most of what I say. How you wouldn't understand. How could you understand? Or if you've never...
Yeah, but, okay, hold on.
Huh.
That is a big problem if it's people close to you.
Well, I have very few people close to me, first of all.
Exactly.
And
Dude,
all of them know...
If you feel unseen by me and we work together,
of
that
course.
has to be brought up.
And it does. And it's usually very quick. Right? It's usually...
Well, I think that most people feel unseen. Last piece here. I said this to Amelia on the Conscious Couples podcast, and this is what this is, by the way, because feeling unseen is feeling unseen is a big pinnacle of having a bad relationship. Like if you feel unseen and your partner feels unseen and neither one of you know that and you're not good at communicating it and you're going to just destroy your relationship. I'm just being honest. Now, I said this to Amelia. I said, this whole agree to disagree thing that's a pipe dream if you're in an intimate relationship. Like, you can agree to disagree, but if Kevin and I can agree to disagree, but if it's something that has to do with our company, we're going to have to integrate. We're going to have to find a way to get on the same page.
Yeah.
Or the closer we are, the more we cannot agree to disagree and effectively move forward. Otherwise, you have to compromise or I have to compromise. And I think that can be a danger. Maybe that's an episode for another time. But I remember telling Amelia, she's like, well, agree to disagree. I said, sweetheart, this is kind of a big deal. If we disagree on this, we're not going to be able to build together to the extent that we could. So instead, we need to integrate. I need to understand where you feel unseen. You understand where I feel unseen. I mean, I go to the gym with her every day. If I just don't mention the spotting thing, that's going to happen every day for every other day.
Well, I think it depends on the size of it.
It depends on how close they are to you and how integrated they are with your goals and dreams and core values, which is why when you're married and or in an intimate relationship, that's the person you hopefully feel the most seen by, not the least.
Yeah. Well, and that's to your point, it compounds. It's like if person A doesn't understand level 1 of person B, you're missing all the levels under that. Unfortunately, that's what makes it so hard. And then maybe you feel like there's too big of a gap there's too much contrast for you to explain, and then it becomes...
If one partner's arrogant, they're not open to hearing where... I mean, that is the epicenter, in my opinion, after 4 years of coaching couples, of why couples do not succeed. That
makes sense. It makes sense. You used epicenter and pinnacle. Pretty good.
Thank you.
I don't know if you used pinnacle correctly.
I don't even remember what I said, to be honest.
You said it was the pinnacle of it. Yeah. I don't know. I'll look it up after. I'm always curious.
Pinnacle means the max, the top of the mountain, I believe.
Okay. I think you used it right then.
Nice. Go me.
Did you have a real next level lesson?
It would be, if you feel unseen, identify where and try your best to communicate that as effectively as possible, because it will come out eventually. It will.
Mine would be, just going back to what I said, just to make sure I wrap it up. I don't know if I left anything out. Yeah, identify, what does feeling unseen feel like to you? What does it mean? What does it represent? What comes up? Because that's going to dictate a lot of what you do and don't do. I think it's more important for somebody who has felt unseen for a long period of time to start this process, as opposed to someone who... I think it's obviously important for everybody, but if it affects you more, it's something that we want to work on faster. I think it's more important for you to do it than it is for me to do it, because this is an experience you've had for a lot longer than I have. And deeper. Longer and more depth to it.
Yeah. Tough one.
Tough one on a Sunday. You know? But again, I love these last 2 episodes. I've enjoyed thoroughly.
Nice. I've
enjoyed these 2 episodes. Hopefully, whether you're watching or listening, you have enjoyed them as well, because if not, this was all for nothing. No, just kidding. For the growth. Okay. Next Level Live 2025, April 5th, 2025. It is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Tickets are $47. And it is a deep dive self-improvement day. Now, if you buy a ticket, you will get access to the replay. So if you can't stay for the whole thing, it's all good. You'll get a link, I'm sure, to, I don't know, maybe it'll be the Google Drive folder or whatever. But you'll be able to watch the whole thing in its entirety. So we know people are busy on Saturdays, but you can dip in and get some value.
When we were curating the content, you had come up with the 3 sort of parts of it. The first third is why people struggle to be successful. Do you remember how you broke it down?
Absolutely not. No. Why? It was why, and then it was the process of starting, and then it was the process of continuing.
Yeah.
We're really
In other
leaning
words,
into success for this one. Like,
Yeah.
We really want to go, you'll leave, again, we're on the tangible takeaway thing. You'll leave with your own sort of plan to level up your success. I mean, that's really the goal for this event.
100%. Goals and dreams.
Goals and dreams. All right. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.